kind of on a little bit of a tight schedule, and I'll tell you why. We were devastated to hear that one of our heroes, Jane Fonda, got sick in Atlanta and will not be able to be here with us, but she will be Zooming in or calling in, and she's expecting to hear from us between 5 and 5:15, and we can't be after 5:15 or we'll lose her. So we need to get moving, and Ted Liu is still en route. He got stuck at another event, and he'll be here soon. But we will get started. Shh. Welcome to my home. You know, it's hard for me to even know where to start. It kind of started at the Topanga Peace Alliance, but it really started with Marcy Winograd, because I heard her on KPFK talking about some Secretary of State who got fired, and then we let Schwarzenegger replace him. And she said she was with Progressive Democrats of America. And I had heard about them at the Topanga Peace Alliance, and I thought to myself, well, what am I going to do? Do I try to call or not? And I made a fateful decision. I called 411. And I said, is there a Marcy Winograd on the west side? And she was in the Pacific Palisades. And that was the beginning of the end of my life as a normal person. And the beginning of my life as an activist. And I knew it was all over on a Saturday morning when I got into the car at 8 o'clock to drive to West Hollywood to go to a meeting. I knew that was it. Wow. So here we all are, and I got involved with PDA, Progressive Democrats of America. How many people are on the Progressive Democrats of America mailing list? If you are not, please go to pdamerica.org and sign up. PD America has increased its membership by about a third just in the last year. We're led by the incredible, wherever he went, Alan Minsky, who is organizing progressive caucuses in every state of the union. We are going to be a force, but we need bodies, we need phone bankers, we need donors, we need everything. Half of this money that we raised tonight is going to Progressive Democrats of America. There's a QR code on your table. If you feel like picking up your phone and logging on and giving another $25, $50, that would be greatly appreciated. The internet is on the QR thing. And we're also sharing our money with the incredible Steve Donziger, who has been so mistreated by this government and did such wonderful work for the people of Ecuador. Well, he can tell you his story. So the PDA story is working inside the party, and that's my friend Susie Shannon, who we are also honoring. I would not be where I am today without Susie. She showed me how to win. She showed me how to lobby. She showed me how to do everything inside the party. And I will tell you, it is not easy being a real progressive and being inside the party and learning how to persuade and be nice and not go, you are an idiot. So, but I learned, and Susie now is the head of the Poverty Council in the DNC. She knows how to win. So, but it's been a long, long journey. Yep. There are so many incredible people here tonight. I don't even know who to give a shout out to. We have our honorees, of course, and Ben Allen is here. State Senator. Our incredible district attorney is here. Laura Friedman, assembly person and candidate for Congress is here. Steve Pearson is here, who's a candidate for Laura's seat is here. We have a whole bunch of people from Inland Valley, is that what it is, who are here? And I can't shout out everybody's name. I'm just overwhelmed with how many people are here. So maybe later on I can make a list and call you all out. But right now, we would like to get started. Alan, do you have a few words to say?
I'll just say a few things because we got to stay on.
That's scheduled.
Ben has something to say. Should we invite Ben up right now? I'm just wondering if Ben Allen?
Ben Allen is going to give the award.
Oh, there we go.
I know what's going on. Don't.
Yes. Always good.
All right, say something about PDA.
I'll say something about PDA. Look, first of all, actually, I want to thank everybody for being here. It's been 4 years since we've all been here, and this is incredibly beautiful. And we actually are all going to have a very special opportunity to not just, I know maybe people are disappointed because Jane Fonda's not here, but in a few minutes, let's all make her feel our love, okay? And where she is right now, I think it can make be a real special moment for her and for us as well, for thanking her for all that she's been doing across her whole life. But if people aren't aware of it, her level of environmental activism and activism on so many fronts has been phenomenal. And I also want to really just thank Jan Goodman, wherever Jan Goodman is here, and just send Jan love. And Jan has hosted so many progressive events over the year. And I also can thank so many people here. Derek Marshall, by the way, progressive candidate who we endorsed in California's 23rd district. We have so much going on at PDA, but I want to keep this very simple. And, on Tuesday, we're going to be releasing something that we worked with people for the last few months called a 21st Century Rural New Deal. And it's put together as progressive economic policy and social policy for rural America, which the mainstream of the Democratic Party has completely abandoned. Yeah. And there's loads of poverty in rural America. Okay, we gotta go. Okay, look, we gotta go. I'll be back. Okay.
Yeah. We can all talk later. So as I said, Susie Shannon is in large part responsible for what's happening here today. And to give her, Tim Carpenter was inside and outside the Democratic Party, so Susie gets her award, the Tim Carpenter Courage Award for activism in the pursuit of economic justice inside the Democratic Party. And to give her award, we have Ben Allen.
Yeah! Thank you, Dorothy. Thank you. What a great day. What a great crowd. I'm so nice to see everyone enjoying themselves. Have a drink or two, but don't have too many because that's a windy road. Man, it's every time I come up here, I'm always so glad when I make it. But what a beautiful place. And so it's so nice to see so many friends here, all fighting and rowing in the same direction to help make our country a little bit more sane, a little bit more just. And I just appreciate that so much. All right, so we're here to celebrate many very extraordinary Democrats, but there is a very, very special one that I want to take a moment to call out and give an award to today. And that's my dear friend, Susie Shannon.
Yeah, Susie!
Now, Susie is someone who is tireless. She is relentless. But she's also got a big heart. She's a good person. She's a good friend. She's someone who cares about other people deeply. She also loves life. She's got a wonderful smile and an infectious laugh. But she has thrown herself into the incredibly hard work of making our party better, getting good people elected to office, and pushing the party to really start to take some of the issues that it claims to take seriously. Poverty, which is an issue that has been plaguing our country so tremendously for so long. I mean, the comment just made about the issues in rural America, I think are absolutely spot on. One of the great challenges we have politically is that we're seen in many places as, the party of the elites, which is such a distressing thing to think about if you think about where our policies stand versus the Republicans. But that's because we don't talk about poverty enough. We don't focus enough on poverty. We're not pursuing policies that address core poverty challenges and injustice enough. And Susie's been at the forefront of the effort to continue to raise those issues within the party. Homelessness, affordable housing, environmental justice, healthcare access, all of these incredibly important causes that Susie's been out there at the forefront talking about, pushing on, talking to candidates about, but also doing the hard work of engaging in the party, not just yelling, but getting involved in committees and getting involved in helping to shape the platform and inform and cajole and persuade and educate. And all of that is an important part of the work as well. And Susie's such a professional at all that type of work. And she's gotten herself into to so many levels of party work, from the LACDP, of course, the California State Party, but also a member of our Democratic National Committee at the national level pushing for these issues. She's of course, the work goes way beyond just her activism and volunteerism with the party. She's done all this important work on affordable housing and stronger tenant protections. She's done all this very, very important work on rent control, and she's leading the fight right now on the repeal of Costa-Hawkins statewide, which is such an important effort that does deserve some applause. services for the unhoused through the work of nonprofits that are transforming those beautiful buildings downtown that have been so underutilized for so long. We need to let's get those revitalized, revamped, and turned into housing for unhoused residents. That's what Housing as a Human Right's been doing. That's what HF's been working on. Susie's been doing so much of that important work and making sure that elected officials know about it as well, and that we're changing the rules so as to allow them to continue to expand that work. And that's been an area of partnership for us, as difficult as it's been. So I just want to, I can't think of anybody who's more deserving of this award. I've learned a little bit about Tim. The fighter for economic justice. This is something that Susie believes in at her very core. She's got such a big heart, and she's also all about getting results done. And I love you, Susie. We love you. We appreciate you. We appreciate your leadership so much. So come on up and receive the Tim Carpenter Award for Activism in Pursuit of Economic Justice within the Democratic Party. Susie Shannon. Photograph.
Oh, photo now.
Excellent.
Photo first.
Excellent. All right.
Thank you so much. First, I want to thank our very timid and shy leader, Dorothy Reich. I'm kidding. Dorothy is like a fierce warrior who speaks her mind, and it's so refreshing to have that in activism, in the party. And Dorothy is on our executive board now for the California Democratic Party, so glad to have her there, working inside and outside the party on all of our important progressive issues. I also want to point out 2 people are here from Massachusetts who flew in for this event. One is Mike Connolly, who is a state rep from Massachusetts, was co-chair of Bernie's campaign in Massachusetts, and an overall progressive, doing great work there, including putting a rent control initiative on the ballot, very similar to ours here in California. And Michael Kane, who has been working on tenant issues for about 50 years, I'm not kidding. And this guy is a stellar organizer, also doing great work, came in from Massachusetts. So I just want to recognize them. So I'm going to tell a quick story about what happened after I became a Democratic National Committee member. I had been, I think, on the California Democratic Party Executive Board since 2007. I had worked to get poverty issues into our California Democratic Party platform when they didn't want them. So I'd kind of been through this. And once I became a Democratic National Committee member, I noticed there were a lot of different councils on different issues, but there wasn't one on poverty. So I put in a resolution to ask to create a poverty council. And within a day or two, the DNC staff called me and said, "We don't want a poverty council, but what we can do is change a resolution. And what we'll do instead is say that the Democratic National Committee will continue our support of poverty issues, right, our commitment." And I said, well, I've been here for about a year and a half, and I'm not really seeing that commitment. In fact, I've never heard the word poverty even mentioned here at the DNC. I've never had anyone speak that was talking about it. And I think at every single meeting, we need to be talking about people who live in poverty, because people in poverty don't have money, number one. So it's very hard for them to give campaign contributions to a lot of the elected officials. But 2, they don't have a union. They have the Democratic Party. Yep. That's what they have. So I basically said, I don't agree with this. They changed my resolution anyway, and they put it out there for all the delegates. And thankfully to Sue Himmelrich, who is somewhere in here, former mayor of Santa Monica, she helped me write a very strongly worded letter to the DNC saying, you don't get to change my resolution. And they changed it back. And I organized, got every delegate I had a phone number for, so I knew I had the votes on the floor. And I went to the DNC meeting in Chicago, and I went to the Resolutions Committee meeting, and they told me that my resolution was going to be tabled. No. So I walked right up to the chair of the party and I said, when you called me when you were running, you said you had a commitment to homelessness. You said you had a commitment to poverty issues. I don't see that. Now you're trying to bury my resolution. And within 5 minutes of talking to him and walking to the back of the room, the head of the resolutions committee, the co-chair, told me they were going to pass it.
Wow.
And I was like, yes. It passes unanimously. It goes to the floor. It passes unanimously. And our next meeting is in Washington, D.C. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I'm calling Congresswoman Maxine Waters. I'm calling Barbara Lee and asking them, to speak at the inaugural meeting. And I keep calling the DNC to find out when our inaugural meeting is. And it's 30 days before, which is the deadline for announcing it. And I get a call, 5 o'clock at night, saying, and they left a voicemail for me, saying, we're not going to agendize the Poverty Council for the DNC, meaning I would have no meeting. So another runaround. So I don't call them back. I call the hotel and I asked them, how much is it to book a meeting room? It was a lot of money, but I booked it anyway, because I was not going to let them stop me from doing this. So Dorothy Wright gave money, Derek Devermont, a number of other people, so that I could rent a room and have AV and some water. And we had our meeting anyway. It's 7 o'clock at night on a Friday, and we packed that room. And it was packed partly because Alan Minsky, who is the head of PDA, found out about this story. He said, this is a really good story. And he wrote an article in The Nation magazine, which Nina Turner then, who also spoke at our inaugural meeting, put out there. And we packed this room. And they never, ever messed with us again after that. And the reason that I tell this story, and that's not to say the DNC is terrible, they've now embraced it, and for me, the DNC is a brand. And for me, that brand means that you better help low-income people, because no one else is helping them, I guarantee you. And if the Democratic Party isn't behind it, and there's no money coming into campaign coffers for elected officials, they're going to be cast aside, which is exactly what had happened. And I just say this because I don't want people to get discouraged. I have been doing this for a very, very long time. And I think that when we get discouraged and we stop working, we actually change history for the worse.
Yep.
Right? Because even with all the setbacks we get, whether that's from the Democratic Party, which is one little piece, our elected officials who a lot of times don't do the right thing, and we know that, even though they tell us in the endorsement meetings that they're going to do it, and then they don't. Affordable housing, by the way, and housing for people who are unhoused should be a major priority right now. Okay, we have over 60,000 people homeless in the LA County, over 41,000 in the city of LA, and over 171,000 in California. Okay, so I have been very fortunate in my life to work for Trailblazers. So for 10 years, I was environmental executive for Eco Expo and the Green Business Conference. And I mention that because Ben Allen, when he was in high school, actually came to our Los Angeles Eco Expo, which we had every single year at the LA Convention Center. And he has kind of bookended my career, I guess. I also worked for Tom Hayden, who was my mentor, and who in 2015, I gave the Lifetime Achievement Award to here. And Tom was a baseball player, and he once gave me a baseball, he autographed it for me, and he said, "To Susie, it's a long game, Tom Hayden." And that has been so true. And I think that being a progressive is a very, it's a lifelong commitment that we can't stop. I want to give a shout out to some of my current boss here, Michael Weinstein, who has been such an incredible trailblazer. And it's so hard to have the courage of your convictions and to do the thing that you're supposed to do. And it's like Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. As soon as you do the right thing, people start to vilify you. And that's happened to a lot of us here, so we understand that. Sue Himmelrich, same thing happened to her. Always doing the right thing. I worked on two of her campaigns. And as many of you know, I care so much about poverty issues. I care so much about people who are unhoused, many of whom I try to get into housing. It's very hard. And so I just hope you will all vote in November 2024 for the Justice for Renters Act, which will actually repeal Costa-Hawkins and allow our cities and counties to once again expand rent control. And please, for all of your elected officials, please remind them that we don't need more luxury housing going up. If I see one more banner that says luxury housing, when people are dying on the street, 5 people a day, I'm going to go out of my mind. So I want to thank you all again. Many of you are my heroes. We have worked on single-payer health care, stopping the war. We've worked on so many issues. I think about Marcy, too, in the Progressive Caucus. And, we just have to keep on keeping on. It's great to have these celebrations, but please, we got to get out on the streets and we got to get to work. Thank you. Oh, I want to give a shout out to my daughter, Gracie. Many people remember when I was pregnant with Gracie, and my family also, makes a lot of sacrifices so that I can do this work. And I do want to give a shout out to Barbara Williams, who is Tom Hayden's widow, and has been like a fierce warrior in a lot of these issues as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Susie. All right, before we go on, we're going to be talking to Jane next because Jane is back on the East Coast and she's ready to pack it in for the night. But before we do that, let me just say hi to Ted Wu, who made it here. There's still an event today, but he's here. So thank you, Ted. And let's try to do this call for Jane, and then we'll move on and we'll do our last 2 awards. Okay? Thanks.
All right. Okay. Jane is here. Jane is here. So, you all know how accomplished Jane is. Just a sec. I'm just going to try to. All right. Can you hear me now? You all know how accomplished Jane is. I can't think of many people who have achieved as much as she has in her lifetime. She has triumphed. Whoops, she's gone away. Oh dear, I've got to do it again. Can you try? Can you keep trying? I won't keep speaking. So, she has triumphed as an artist.
Could everybody who's on the Wi-Fi put your phone in airplane mode just while we try to bring her in? Because there's too many people on the Wi-Fi and she can't get in. Thank you.
Did everyone hear that? Please put your phones in airplane mode.
Sorry, Jane feels so terrible about this, but she would be here if she could. She is such a trooper. Yes? All right. So, Jane has championed peace and justice movements. She has been an essential advocate for women's rights, and of course we all know how much she has influenced, what a major influence she's been on bringing awareness to the climate crisis that we're all in. She has put her career, her reputation, and her life on the line, standing up for the things that she believes in. She's a warrior. She is a goddess. She is superwoman. But more than that, I'm going to speak personally now, she is profoundly human. Long before Jane and I had a common husband, I had an encounter with her at a pivotal moment in my life. I was new in Hollywood, fresh off the boats, logger's daughter from Canada, feeling very alienated and unimportant, unseen. And I was ready to retreat. I was going to go back to Canada with my tail between my legs. And then I had this memory of this sign I'd seen, the Jane Fonda workout. What the hell? I took a cab down to Robertson Boulevard, and I signed up. And then I'm standing there, and all these gorgeous people are coming out in tights and tank tops, and I kind of lose my nerve. And I'm standing there thinking, well, maybe another day. And then suddenly I hear that inimitable voice, I like your boots. And holy shit, it's her. And I said, well, I got them in Montreal. And she says, oh, êtes-vous française? And I go, no, ma grand-mère était française. And, you know, a little conversation in French ensues. And she, of course, is a much better French speaker than I am. And she's gone again. But I think that she sensed my trepidation. She was incredibly warm and encouraging, and I have to say it was the first time since I'd been here that I felt seen. And then she said, well, enjoy yourself, and she was out the door like a mirage, and I did the class, and it was exhilarating, and I kept coming back and hoping that I'd see her, but of course I never did. But it lifted me out of my gloom. So she, of course, would not remember this because she has had a million encounters like this, you know, where I think she's always left somebody feeling like they were seen. Cut to, through a curious twist of fate, we are related. And she was incredibly generous to me and my son. And she has led me into many meaningful adventures, missions, misadventures. I have stood in a parking lot with her in Fort McMurray, the site of the evil tar sands of Alberta, and it's 40 below zero. And there is the angry wife of an oil worker yelling at her. And she's saying, you don't understand. And Jane is saying, I want to understand. Please tell me. And I'm saying, Jane, we're going to miss our plane. But it's more important to Jane that this woman feel respected and seen. And we do miss our plane. But, c'est la vie. Whether it's kismet or karma, or just good luck, I feel blessed to know Jane, to call her a friend, and I'm honored to give her this Lifetime Achievement Award. Yeah. And here's Jane.
Yay!
Okay.
Hi.
Okay, are we good?
I don't, the phone keeps going in and out, and I have no idea can you hear me?
Yes!
Okay, I am deeply honored and grateful and moved to receive this.
Gotta go. It's still on.
If everybody could make sure their phones are off, that would be great.
Shit. I just can't seem to, because she's there. Are you there, Jane?
No.
I don't know. If we were. Is anybody more tech savvy than me? I don't know. I'm just trying to call her.
You're back on. We're trying my phone and see if it works better. Everybody can hear you. If everyone would say hi.
Hi, Jane! What prevents me from it had to be dealt with, and I'm home now, but I'm sorry that I'm not there with all of you, especially since there's a crisis in California that's going to require all of you old lefties, and I bet you're all old lefties like me out there. Yay! It's because big oil is trying to overturn the bill that Gavin Newsom signed to create a 3,200-foot setback that protects the frontline communities. You know what I'm talking about, the communities that the oil companies call sacrifice zones. And they're trying to overturn that, and we can't allow them to win. And I may lose you again because I know the reception there isn't very bad. But this is it's going to require all of us, all hands on deck to defeat big oil. So please, you can go to the website, which is, I don't know, pull out your pens or your phones. I'll give you a minute to do that because I'm going to give you their website.
We have no signal.
Maybe you all know all about this already, but maybe not. I don't know. I'm going to play it safe. Okay, here's the website. It's CA for California, CA, V like Victor, S for versus Big Oil, all one word, CAVSBIGOIL. That's the website. Go there and find out about it, and we need volunteers who know how to do it, know how to canvass, know how to register voters, know how to get out the vote. We've all got to turn out in force. I wish I could be there in person to tell you this, but again, I'm just so very grateful that you consider me one of you. Thank you so much. Stay safe, and I hope I see you all soon at Sarah Nichols. Hi, Sarah.
Feel better from everyone here, Jane.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Jane.
We love you.
I don't know. This is, you want to accept the award?
Barbara's accepting the award for you.
Over this way a little though.
Well, that was, Jane is a force of nature. That is for sure. Even from her hospital bed, she's more powerful than most people at their full height of their strength. All right, so, yeah.
Mentioned we're going to have an event with Jane on October 29th.
Sarah Nichols is hosting an event with Jane on October 29th, and hopefully she'll be all healed up. And Sarah promises me she will also have valet parking. And we can all go there and meet Jane, and maybe she can maybe Barbara will bring the award and I can hand it to her myself. So, another good friend of mine who's helped me a lot in politics is my friend Howie Klein. Everybody who gets my emails gets at least one or two articles by Howie at his incredible blog, downwithtyranny.com, every morning. I met Howie more years ago than I can say. It was when Marianne Williamson was running. She was running against Ted. Didn't work out too well for her. However, Howie and I became good friends. I was introduced to him at a party that was given for her. And our friend David Keith, who is an incredible political organizer, introduced me to Howie. And somehow, with all of his incredible life, he started being an organizer in college, organizing through music. He brought left-wing bands into Stony Brook before anybody ever heard of them. The Doors. I can't remember all the names of the bands. And the people. And he got them for no money because they didn't even have record contracts yet. But Howie could spot talent when he saw it. So he did that in college. Then he went traveling around the world. And if you want to talk to him privately, he can tell you what he was up to. But I'm not going to tell you. He came back. He went to San Francisco. He started a record label there and supported punk. Was it punk or funk?
Punk. Very punk.
Very punk and very funk. And he then went on to be the head of the larger record companies. But finally, he got more involved in actual politics, and he has on his speed dial almost every elected representative you can imagine who you would ever want to talk to. And one of the elected representatives on his speed dial is his friend Ted Lieu. And Ted Lieu is here to give Howie our Lila Garrett Journalism Award for journalism in the pursuit of peace and justice. If there's anyone who pursues peace and justice righteously every day, it's Howie Klein. When you call him up, he goes, I can talk to you for a minute, but then I have to start writing again. I have to get my piece posted. He spends every waking hour, except when he goes out to dinner, writing these incredibly informative pieces for his blog, and I suggest that you get on there every day, because I can't send them all out, but they all should be read. And so we're going to give him his award, one of his good friends, and my friend, Congressman Ted Lieu.
Good afternoon. In 3 days, I'm going to be on the floor of the Republican-controlled House of Representatives. So let me first say what a thrill it is to now stand in front of normal, rational, kind people. Thank you, Dorothy, for your leadership and for opening up this beautiful place. Thank you all for coming here to this wonderful event. And it's such a great honor to be able to give this award to my friend Howie Klein. I just want to give you a little more about his background because it is so extraordinary. And as Dorothy mentioned, he graduated from Stony Brook University in New York, and he went into the music business. And this is just some of the left-wing talent that he spotted early. So Dorothy mentioned the Doors, but also the Grateful Dead, Jefferson Airplane, Jimi Hendrix, Joni Mitchell, Pink Floyd, The Who, and the Yardbirds. And that was just his early life. And then he went to San Francisco and was a co-promoter and starter of the only national and first punk radio show, where they interviewed bands such as the Sex Pistols, Iggy Pop, and Devo. And then he had the good sense to come to Los Angeles. And in LA, he joined Sire Records in 1987 and then became president of Reprise Records under Warner Brothers. And he did so much there, developing talent. And here are some of the bands that he successfully developed: Depeche Mode, Talking Heads, the Ramones, the Pretenders, Neil Young, Green Day, and Fleetwood Mac, and so many others. And that was just sort of midlife for Howie. But then he continued, and you may have remembered seeing Howie's name during the anti-censorship efforts. So this was around the time of Al Gore and Tipper Gore, and Tipper Gore sort of went on this campaign, basically, to censor lyrics in music. And Howie Klein fought back. And so he fought back in a major way, and he got this entire campaign going. And you may have seen this campaign. It was a campaign that was multi-million dollars, industry-wide, to register and educate young voters. And it was called Rock the Vote. And one of the reasons we have is because of Howie Klein. But he also fought back directly against this censorship, and he was given 2 Spirit of Liberty Awards by the People for the American Way. And to me, this is my favorite part of his official biography. At the award ceremony, he created a CD to show and present, and he called it Fuck Censorship. And so he was really good at standing up for free speech and censorship. And at that time, he just could have retired and stopped and lived a very good life having done these amazing things in the music industry, having supported free speech. But he chose to continue staying involved and really get involved in helping America get better. And he does that by helping to elect progressive Democrats and then making sure we remain progressive after we're elected. So you never want to be the target of one of Howie Klein's columns. He will bring the searing truth upon you and expose you for who you are. And so thank you, Howie, for doing that. But in addition to his journalism, and it's such an honor for him to get the Lotta Garrett Journalism Award, he also is just politically involved. And so he's involved with Blue America PAC, and they fund and support progressive candidates across America. And if any of you are running in a progressive office, please go talk to Howie. And if you are progressive and capable, then he's going to support you. And America is a better place because of Howie Klein. So with that, Howie, come on up and get your award.
I don't even remember all that stuff. Thanks very much, Ted.
You don't have anything flashy for us to know. How do I know you're so smart?
Once Howie gets
their word first.
Once Howie gets a mic in his hand.
Okay.
Who's taking a picture?
Bravo.
Thanks, Ted. I appreciate it. And I didn't remember all that stuff, so I really appreciated hearing it. So every morning when I get up, usually around 5, I go downstairs and start writing my blog. And then after I've done one, I know it's like time to start moving a little bit. Otherwise, I would just sit there all day. So I go to my pool and I take a swim. Before I swim, I do 4 rituals. A Muslim one, a Jewish one, a Christian one, and a Buddhist one. In fact, I see Hania there, and a couple of weeks ago, she helped me develop my Muslim one because I was just doing a Sunni thing, and she showed me how to do a Shia thing. So now I do half Sunni, half Shia. Thank you very much. I enjoy that. And I met her son today, Rumi, who's right over there. And a few years ago, actually more than a few years ago, I was in Konya in Turkey, and I went to the burial place of the actual Rumi. And someday Rumi's going to read his poems and learn more about him and be really proud of his wonderful name. Anyway, after I swim, it's back to my office, do my blog some more, and blog some more, and blog some more. I've been doing this since 2004, and I was looking back and trying to remember what made me start. And I remember there were 2 overarching things. One was a bunch of very, very corrupt Southern California Republicans. They all either went to jail or got thrown out of office. And I worked on that really, really hard. It was what I dedicated my life to. You've probably all heard of Duke Cunningham. He was one of the ones that went to jail. Jerry Lewis, who had this gigantic machine in the Inland Empire, which more or less dissolved. Duncan Hunter. And I'm not talking about the recent Duncan Hunter, I'm talking about the father. These are the worst of the worst. Then there was a guy up a little bit up north named Jerry Pombo. Anybody remember Jerry Pombo? Jerry was the head of the, again, the Republicans were in charge. He was the head of the Natural Resources Committee, so committee chair, very, very important. And we had a progressive candidate who ran against him, a guy named Jerry McNerney. And Jerry McNerney was the most popular guy in a very united Netroots, and we backed him. He didn't win, but he came very close. But of course, when you don't win and you come very close, you try again. So he was going to run again. However, Rahm Emanuel, thank you. The other reason that I started my blog, and I'll get to that in a minute, saw, oh wow, Pombo may be vulnerable. But instead of backing the progressive who almost beat him, he brings in a Republican light candidate, a corporate candidate. I don't remember his name now. Nobody does. No, there's no reason for anybody to. Pombo and Rahm, did everything he could to get Pombo out of the race. To get McNerney out of the race, and McNerney refused. McNerney ran. He beat him in the primary. So then what does Rahm do? Does he get behind Jerry McNerney? No, of course he doesn't. He ignores it. He says, we can't win this district. It's an unwinnable district with this kind of a progressive guy like this. It can't happen. And with the help of the Netroots, Jerry McNerney won. And Rahm was very happy. Oh boy, we have a seat. Come here, Jerry. I made a mistake. I'm going to make it up to you. I am going to give you the best chief of staff in Washington. This is going to be your chief of staff. I'm doing this for you. And Jerry McNerney was never heard from again. That was it. The most progressive guy running that year, and no one ever heard. He just retired.
but it didn't matter if he retired or didn't retire. I'm sure it mattered to his colleagues. Don't be angry, Ted. But the promise of who we thought Jerry McNerney would be, another Barbara Lee maybe, never happened. That's Rahm. And like I said, that was the other reason that I started my blog and eventually we started Blue America, was because there's a difference between Republicans and Democrats. They're not the same and they're not meant to be the same. I was like shocked the other day when a friend of mine in Chicago told me, you know, Rahm was just back from Japan and he told everybody in town he's running for Durbin's seat next time. Durbin's not going to run again and Rahm wants to be a senator. So there we are, all the way around again. Yeah, Noah's right. So we started Blue America in 2006. You probably can't think of a good member of Congress who Blue America didn't back and didn't help to raise money for. Of course, Ted was one of those people. But today, as I look around, I see another one who's here with us, and I want to introduce her, if that's okay. Just to say a few words, I want to say that this is a candidate that's all about what Blue America is about, progressive without any bullshit, the real thing. Not a corporate candidate, not a make-believe liberal who's going to go and betray us when she gets to Congress. This candidate ran against Adam Schiff, my congressman. She got about 60,000 votes. If she even gets a significant portion of that 60,000 votes this time, when she's running for this open seat, she is going to be a congresswoman. She is someone who's going to be in a very, very, very important Congress where they're talking for the first time about trans people. And guess what they don't have in Congress? They don't have a single trans person. And I'd like to introduce you to Maybe Pudlow.
Thank you so much, Howie. Oh my goodness. First of all, can we also, I'm too tall, I gotta unwrap this a little bit. Can we give it up for Howie being presented with an award and allowing somebody else to speak? This is what progressive politics is about. Thank you so much, Howie. And I'm so honored to be endorsed by Howie, to be endorsed by Blue America. Folks, my name is Maybe. I happen to be a trans person, and I'm also a drag queen. And if you haven't noticed, if you've been completely oblivious, you might not know that there has been over 5,000 anti-LGBTQIA bills moving across the United States in 2023 alone. And exactly, thank you, Boo. So I've been running for Congress since 2019. This is my third time running. When I ran in 2019, I said to all of my constituents, I said, you know what? This has been the worst year in modern history for anti-LGBTQIA legislation. You know what? In 2020, I said the same thing. This has been the worst year in modern history for anti-LGBTQIA legislation. I said the same thing in 2022, and now here we are in 2023 with over 5,000 anti-LGBTQIA bills, with more than half of those specifically targeting trans people. And yet there has never been a trans person federally elected to the United States of America. And for me, it's BS. I'm not here for that, because it's as a good friend of mine says, if you're not at the table, you are on the menu. LGBTQIA people, trans people are on the menu right now. So everybody that is here who says you're an ally, please be an ally and help actually get trans people get elected, because we deserve a voice in our government. Y'all, I'm also a drag performer. I'm a drag queen. I happen to be the first drag queen ever elected to public office in the United States of America. I was elected to the Silver Lake Neighborhood Council right here in Los Angeles in 2019. I was reelected and just recently reelected again. And so with that, I serve as the treasurer. I serve as the co-chair of our Budget and Finance Committee. I serve as the co-chair of our ad hoc committee on homelessness and tenants' rights. And here's the thing, I'm a human being. I know what it is like to experience discrimination. I know what it's like to move through the world and not get everything that everybody else receives. And let me also say this, do not vote for me because I'm a drag queen. Do not even vote for me because I'm a trans person. Vote for me because you believe in progressive ideas like universal health care, housing for all, education for all, environmental justice, racial justice, LGBTQIA rights, workers' rights, tenants' rights, disability rights. These are all the things that are not being spoken about. And so I hope that you will consider electing somebody like me. This is not my first time running for Congress. I have run against Adam Schiff, as Howie Klein mentioned, a couple of times. I challenged him in 2020. We ended up coming in 3rd place. I challenged him in 2022. I came in 2nd place out of 9 candidates. I made it to the general election. We got over 60,000 votes, spending about 50 cents a vote versus over $100 a vote. This is a true progressive grassroots movement. So I hope everybody here will consider, please, supporting my campaign and supporting candidates like me, because we deserve a voice in Congress. And if you elect me, I am going to make sure that everybody is taken care of. I've always felt that if folks have health care, housing, and education, this would be a better place for everybody. And that's not a lot to ask. That's not radical. That is actually progressive. Thank you so much, everybody. Again, my name is Maybe, and can we give it up one more time for Howie Klein?
Thank you, Maybe.
Thank you.
I want to just give a shout out to one more person. Dorothy and I both invited Barbara Lee to come. We know that there was a chance she was going to come, but Barbara Lee didn't come, but she sent her grandson here to represent her. And right there in the back waving, that's Jonah Lee. So that's the shout out.
Yeah, please take time to go and talk to Jonah, and Barbara Lee speaks for me. Well, so now we have the person a lot of you came to meet. Oh wait, I forgot. Alan Minsky. Before we get to Steve Donziger, PDA has a word for us, and Alan, the floor is yours.
Thank you. No, I'll be quick. Just thank you, first of all, to everybody. Obviously, you're about to hear from Stephen Donziger, and we're all very excited for that. And the funds today are being split between PDA and for Stephen's Defense Fund. And I just wanted to say, as you consider the prospects of who you maybe want to donate to going forward, and right now there's sort of a crisis in the progressive left of funding. And disproportionately money goes actually to nonprofits and to 501c3s. And I think you can see that it's not working, okay? And we need to have more coordination among progressives so that people know who the politicians are that they're electing, what their policies are, and a responsible organization like PDA vetting them. Because right now we need 218 votes in the House for the declaration of a climate emergency, for instance. And we need 50 or 51 votes in the Senate. There's something called the Climate Emergency Resolution that PDA is very involved in promoting in coordination with a march in New York City next week. In the House, it does better. In Ted Lieu's body, there's 79 co-sponsors. There's 80. Okay, thank you. We got a new one. From Representative Earl Blumenauer. Senator Sanders introduced it in the Senate. How many senators have signed on, do you think? 7. They don't get to double digits, folks. That's what we have to overcome if we're going to have a government. And we need to focus on the officials we're electing. It doesn't serve, by the way, of course we're always partnering with the 501c3s, but the money just channeling to single issue organizations, when we just look clearly at the environment, if anybody thinks that the U.S. government's environmental policy has worked, they're deluding themselves. The only way it's going to work is you have 218 and 51 clearly defined, committed progressives in both houses on that issue and a whole set of issues across the board. And when you're supporting PDA, that's what you're supporting. So I just want to thank you all for being here and for supporting PDA.
Okay, just first of all, what you all rock, just what you do with your lives, what you care about, the passion and the commitment and the never give upness that is in this on Dorothy's lawn is amazing. And Dorothy, you're amazing for bringing everyone here.
No, you can't talk about me. Sorry. No, we're here for other things. So I am thrilled to present this Tim Carpenter Award for courage in saving the planet from outside of the party. I know it's more words than that, but that's kind of what it means. Tim Carpenter was an amazing human being that I got to work close with in running Jerry Brown's campaign, and who has really been, he's still, I think, a fire in many of our hearts. So just amazing to be able to give this award to another hero of mine. So I've been up close and personal to much of the work over the years, mostly because I'm a board member of Rainforest Action Network, and our work is to save the forest for the peoples of the Amazon. And attorney Stephen Donziger has been on the front lines, representing 30,000 farmers and indigenous peoples. In 1993, that's a long time ago, 30 years ago, he was in Ecuador and saw the devastation of what Texaco and Chevron were doing on this paradise home that it was before being destroyed by their engagement there. He hasn't stopped fighting for them in this 30 years, and it has cost him his freedom and his work. I watched him tirelessly, brilliantly, fearlessly taking on the oil giants that are destroying our planet. I watched his love for and commitment to the peoples and theirs back to him. His courage and brilliance and relentlessness resulted in the historic award for the people of $9.5 billion from Chevron. This also led to the withdrawal of Chevron from Ecuador, but they've been intent on taking him down with them. They refused to pay the award and instead brought RICO charge against Stephen to punish him. I call this lawfare, like what they are doing to activists trying to stop Cop City. We must all understand how serious it is and know that Stephen is also on the front lines of the abuse of power too. This is a war on truth tellers and activists who dare to go against the war economy giants. They are not used to losing and will crush anyone who attempts to get in their way. Stephen was under house arrest and then found guilty of the trumped-up RICO charges and sentenced to 6 months in jail. Nobel laureates, progressive members of Congress, human rights organizations, and the UN Commission on Human Rights protested this illegal treatment, and after 45 days in prison and 993 days in house arrest, he was released last spring. But that RICO conviction still hangs over his head, and it must be overturned. We can't let these corporations get away with this violent behavior, or they will use it over and over again, and we and the planet will continue to pay the prices. Just so you know what a fighter he is, his relentlessness cost Chevron $2 billion in legal fees. Stephen is the standard of a change maker. He brings his gifts, which are his brilliance, his strategic thinking, and his love of the people, and then with them, he is relentless, courageous, and unbending in what he knows to be true and what needs to be done for the people. His refusal to let go has cost him dearly, and yet he's not bitter. He's not defeated. He just continues to give his life to support others, and he doesn't let go of the fight to push back, which is not about him, but it's about the liberation of all of us. So in recognition of your work, I am so proud to give this award to you, Steve.
He goes in the middle.
You know, you're the instigator.
Who, me? What did I do?
There you go. I'm going to hold it because I know you need your notes.
Okay.
Where's your crown? How do we know?
Let me just say a quick thing. You all have your QR codes on your tables, and you can turn your phones on now, and if you want to go on the QR and just give another 25 or 50 or even 5 or 10, that would be great. Because we're very, very close to the goal we set for ourselves, and this is a fundraiser. And Stephen is going to need money, and PDA always needs money, so find your QR code and give a little more.
Thank you so much. I've never gotten an award in my life before, so this is really fun. First of all, to everyone here, thank you for coming. Great respect to everyone. I know how hard everyone here works to create the kind of change we need in this country, change that really affects all of us who do environmental justice work and who do any kind of progressive social justice work. So this is a great group. I sense the energy. I also want to say about California, for those of us who don't live here, like, we sort of look to this state to lead. And even though I know you're engaged in tons of difficult battles here, you're still doing generally amazing things that really leads a lot of the other states. So I wanted to thank you for that, as a resident of New York. And I also want to just acknowledge Jane Fonda. It's a crazy story, but when I was in college many years ago, Jane came to speak with her then husband, Tom Hayden, and I'm realizing Tom's widow is, I mean, you can't get away from these people, you know. And it really it was like a life-altering experience for me to see Jane and Tom together in college and the things they were doing, the things they were talking about. It was extremely inspirational, and it's an honor to, even though Jane couldn't make it, it's an honor to be here and accept an award in the same space as Jane Fonda. So thank you, Jane. Dorothy, thank you for putting this together. And to everyone here, you know, I met the District Attorney Gascon. It's a pleasure. You're a hero. Ben Allen, Susie, unbelievable, your story. Anyway, it's all very inspirational. Thank you again for coming. I'm going to just talk briefly about my situation and about how I think it connects up to the larger issues that we all care about. And for those who are not familiar with what sort of I've been doing over the last almost 3 decades, in a nutshell, Texaco, American Oil Company, later bought by Chevron, drilled in a pristine part of Ecuador's Amazon from roughly the mid-1960s to the early 1990s, and they designed their system of oil extraction to deliberately pollute. And they basically admitted to dumping 16 billion gallons of cancer-causing oil waste into rivers and streams and onto the ancestral lands of these indigenous peoples, such that after, you know, living for millennia in peace and prosperity in the forests, in probably 10-year period, like virtually overnight, there was poison everywhere. And the people did not live in a wage economy. They had no way to buy clean water. They basically were still drinking. When I first went down there in 1993 as a young lawyer, they were still drinking out of rivers and streams and being exposed to toxins and poisons multiple times daily. The upshot is that over the ensuing almost 3 decades, literally thousands of people have gotten cancer and died of cancer. And this is a huge crisis. The world does not know enough about it. We've done our best to draw attention to it. But what's interesting is after we launched a legal case in the United States, Chevron wanted it moved to Ecuador, where they had never paid a single dollar, even though they had been openly polluting for 30 years. They thought they could just go to Ecuador and get the case dismissed. And with an incredible team of lawyers from Ecuador, you know, led by Pablo Fajardo and Julio Prieto and leaders like Luis Yance, Edmel Chavez, Rosa Moreno, these communities organized with the help of many of you, people who donated, lawyers like myself, and basically won a historic victory. It's really the only multi-billion-dollar environmental judgment ever won by indigenous peoples in the global South. And it's a huge accomplishment. Now, what I'm about to tell you is sort of the other piece of the story that affects me personally, but I just want to acknowledge that the people of Ecuador have won this case, and that can never be taken away from them, and they plan to collect on this judgment such that they can clean their ancestral land. So, they won. Now, what I'm about to tell you now is a good example, I think, a lot of the problems in our country. Instead of paying the judgment, Chevron's lawyers came back to the United States, where we had originally filed the case in the early 90s, and where they wanted it down in Ecuador. And they sued me in the very court in which we had filed the original environmental case before it was moved to Ecuador. And they sued me for fraud under the civil RICO statute. And they sued me for treble damages. At the time, we had a $20 billion judgment, which was since affirmed by Ecuador Supreme Court, but the amount was reduced a little bit for various reasons. But at that time, I was facing a $60 billion civil liability personally. I know, right? I know, like, you have to, like if they sued me for like 2 or 3 million, I'd be freaked out, right? But like 60 million, like, that's just funny. So I believe I've been sued, I'm the individual in our country who's been sued for the most amount of money in our history. Okay. So Chevron was using dozens of law firms and literally 2,000 lawyers to go after me and other members of our team. And ultimately, they convinced a U.S. judge who had financial investments in Chevron and is very pro-corporate and who denied me a jury to hold me in contempt of court because I would not turn over my computer and confidential case file to Chevron, which is an order that I don't know, lawyers among us, I've never heard of a civil case where a judge orders one side's lawyers to disclose their case file to the other side. So I told the judge, I said, you got to hold me in civil contempt of court. I'm going to appeal this to the federal appellate court. And he held me in civil contempt and started to fine me. He says, I'm going to fine you $1,000 a day, and it's going to double every day, and it's going to compound. And if I'm not a mathematician, but if you actually look at those numbers, $1,000 a day, doubling every day, compounding leads to something like $3-4 billion in 60 days. I mean, it's crazy. I got fined the most amount of money of anyone in U.S. history. I mean, the largest fine in a civil case ever imposed on a private party, like a bank, was like $50,000 in New York. He was hitting me with fines of billions. But the crazy thing is, it was so out of the norm, it was so wacky, that everybody who was watching it began to realize that something was seriously amiss. In the end of the day, Judge Kaplan, Lewis Kaplan, he charged me with criminal contempt for not giving my computer to Chevron. He then had his charges taken to the U.S. attorney in New York, who refused to prosecute me. By the way, in our country, judges don't charge crime. Prosecutors charge crime. So he was charged with contempt. He had to take it to the prosecutor, refused to do the case. The judge appointed a Chevron law firm to prosecute me in the name of the U.S. government. So then I became the only person in our nation's history privately prosecuted by a corporation. And I was charged with misdemeanor contempt. It's a petty offense in the federal system. Maximum sentence 6 months. He assigned the judge, who was a friend of his, a big leader of the Federalist Society. And this judge, I walked into court to deal with this. I said, I need some time to get a lawyer. And she had me locked up at home with an ankle bracelet on a theory that I was a risk of flight. I never missed a court date in my life as a lawyer. So I then went home thinking this would be a week or 2 or 3 and we'd get this ankle bracelet taken off, and I ended up at home literally for 2 years and 2 months. Before I got my trial. I couldn't get a trial. So I was 2 years, 2 months. You guys okay?
We're fine. We had a lot of fun. Your story's so good that I mean, it's unbelievable. Oh,
yeah.
So out of control. My God.
Okay, you okay?
We're fine.
Okay. So I'll try to wrap this around pretty quickly. In the end of the day, I ended up serving. The judge who tried me for misdemeanor criminal contempt denied me a jury. Wouldn't let me really defend myself for various technical legal reasons. I never took the stand, and she found me guilty and sentenced me to the maximum sentence of 6 months in prison after I'd already served over 4 times that amount in home detention. But in her view, that wasn't really detention. That was just freedom with certain conditions. So, there had never been a lawyer in this district ever sent to prison for a contempt charge before me. And I ended up serving over 4 times the maximum sentence allowed by law. So what was this? This was all corporate retaliation using the judicial system with the complicity and cooperation of a small group of judges who wanted to make an example out of me so no one would do this kind of work. That's really what this was about. They not only wanted to win the case, they wanted to kill the idea that you could do this case. That's what they were trying to do. And I was determined to fight through it, and with the support of so many friends in my family, we did get through it. But I want to just say that I'm not really fully free, even though I don't have the ankle bracelet. They took my passport, so I cannot leave the country, because we still have this issue with my computer. And the judge sanctioned me. His sanction for not giving my computer to Chevron is he took my passport. So I can't leave the country, which means I can't go to Ecuador, I can't see my clients, I can't travel around to other countries to organize lawyers to enforce the judgment, because really the most important thing about this whole story is the people of Ecuador are still suffering, and they haven't been paid, and the way to get them paid is to have the judgment enforced in a country where Chevron has assets, not the United States, another country. So I can't leave the country. They also ended up in this racketeering case. The judge imposed millions of dollars of fines on me. I don't even know how much money I owe them, and at this point it doesn't matter because I don't have a bank account. I can't keep money in my name. I have a defense fund, which the money you're donating to be here goes to a defense fund held by a law firm, just so you know. And I have ongoing challenges because the reality, I don't think they're going to do this because I've gotten a lot of support from so many people, including all of y'all, which I fully appreciate and I'm so grateful for. But this judge could charge me with another criminal contempt, in theory, and do the same thing over again because we still have this outstanding issue of my computer. So the support I get publicly from people who care, people like you folks, people of influence, is really critical to protecting both me and my clients in Ecuador who are still suffering with the effects of the pollution, but still own this historic judgment for which there's no statute of limitations, by the way, on enforcement of foreign judgments. And we need lawyers willing to really go out into the world and finish the job because we're 95% there. Most of the work is in the rearview mirror. I can't do it personally for various reasons, including being unable to travel. So, we think we can really bring this home, and with the support of you folks and so many people around the world, this really needs to be like a global movement. Judges, by the way, I saw a judge here, Michael Winfield. I don't know if you guys know him. We went to law school together. I hadn't seen him for 35 years. He took off, but it's incredible to come out here and see so many wonderful people. But in any event, we need to get my passport back. We're going to launch a campaign to pressure President Biden to pardon me. Jody talked about the need to overturn this conviction. I took it all the way to the Supreme Court, this conviction, and it was crazy. The Supreme Court meets once a week to decide whether to take cases, and they take very few of the cases that get before them, maybe 1 out of 100. And they kept listing my case for conference for 5 straight weeks. There was some debate going on in the Supreme Court about me and about this private prosecution. And at the end of the day, 2 justices, Neil Gorsuch and Brett Kavanaugh, I know most people here probably don't like their politics, but to their credit, they looked at what happened to me and they wrote a stinging dissent from the decision not to grant cert to me. And they said the Constitution does not allow what happened here. Those were their words. And I just want to point out, when you look at the politics today, all you need is 4 justices of the 9 to get your case accepted for appeal. Obviously, you need 5 to win, 4 to get the case accepted. I couldn't understand why the other justices, including the 3 centrists, would not join Kavanaugh and Gorsuch to bring this up and rule that this is crazy. You know, this violates any principle of law, rule of law. There's no rule of law country other than this one that's ever done this. And by failing to take the case, they essentially endorse the idea that there can be private corporate prosecutions in the United States. And when we think about Cop City in Atlanta, and we think about these draconian laws that are being passed by many states to target protesters, particularly protesters of the fossil fuel industry, it's all connected. And we have to understand, and I've written about this recently, there's an intimate connection between democracy and the climate issue. If we cannot protect our right to protest, a lawyer's right to bring a case in this country without going to jail, we're going to be in serious trouble. We're going to be really even more handicapped than we are to address the existential crisis facing our planet. And the fossil fuel industry, and with the cooperation of some judges, is working really hard to crush people, to send a message, to scare people into not doing the work. They want to stop protest before it starts, and they want people to be really freaked out about it. So we have a lot of work to do. I'm really happy to accept the award. I'm going to donate it to the people of Ecuador who have who really made this thing happen. I want to do a shout out to Tim Carpenter, who I didn't know, but I know whatever Tim did, it was great work, and I'm honored to get an award in his name. And if you can, continue to support us. We have a website. It's called freedonziger.com. You can give us your email. We send out communications. We're going to do the pardon campaign, a petition, and some other things to pressure the president on this issue. So please go to freedonziger.com, and if you can, the donations that come in go to this work. Without resources, we simply cannot move this thing forward, and I cannot protect myself. So thank you very much, Dorothy. Thank you very much to all of you. Love to everybody. Thank you.
I want to thank you all for coming. There's cake, hang out on the deck, enjoy the view. I just want to say that I thought I was never going to do another event like this, and I said to somebody, I'll do it if I can get Steve Donziger. Somebody like Steve Donziger. And then all of a sudden he showed up on Harvey Wasserman's Zoom call, and there he was, and I said, I raised my hand, and we invited Steve, and he is here, and I thank you all for coming and supporting PDA and supporting Steve Donziger and Howie Klein of Blue America and Jane Fonda and Susie Shannon's Poverty Council. Thank you, Susie. So thank you all for coming. Please hang out. Please finish this cake, finish the food. We don't want any leftovers here. Okay? Thank you.